Alana Jaylo.
Rick Hammond.
It is around 9:55.
Yep.
On a Saturday morning.
Yes.
You got out of the shower.
Yes.
After I did.
Right.
We did not do one together.
No.
But.
You didn't have to mention that. But...
The day is young.
Oh,
I did put on some aloe vera lotion.
As did I.
Good.
As did I.
You have been having issues with your dot this morning.
Yeah, I think it just was, it may have been just updating. And so what I did was I unplugged it and then I plugged it again and then I turned on the battery base and I just waited a few minutes and it just started working again.
I'm glad that it's back to full capacity.
Yes.
I, as you know, think that the Echo Dot is one of the best radios you can buy.
I would agree with you now. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that yours is working correctly now. But This has been a consistent problem for a little while. Are you concerned that the solution won't work for a long period of time?
I don't have any concerns right now. A lot of times when things don't work for me, like appliances, usually one of the best solutions is to unplug it and then plug it in again. But and the dot so far has not disappointed in that.
Very
if that
good.
Makes any sense.
Yes, it does.
Good.
You and I went to bed around 12 last night.
Around that time, yeah.
And
not that everybody needs to know that, but
that's okay, babes. But this is part of doing this is to archive.
I'm a little bit private about that. I mean, I'm very private about that, but okay.
Okay. Well, we'll just say that we're making this up. You are, but this is a journal of my life experiences.
I'm not making it up. I just don't really Anyway, go on.
If your mom is listening, this is totally a fantasy. Plug your ears. Alana and I have never even kissed.
I don't think she would believe you in that regard.
We haven't. We've never kissed. We've held hands before, but that was under duress.
What is that supposed to mean, under duress?
It means you protested. But we've never kissed before. We've only had pure thoughts. We're both good Christians.
Okay, now you're just mocking.
I've never kissed a woman before.
Now you're just mocking.
Never kissed a woman before.
Okay, but don't lie now. Don't lie.
In the fantasy world that we are creating, we went to bed around 12 and woke up about 5:31, if I remember correctly. We talked for a while. Now, you said that I had woke you up in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Well, I thought I felt something moving. And I said, I said something like, are you moving?
I was pretty fidgety.
Yeah.
I am a fidgety person.
Yeah, I was like, what are you doing? To the point to where I was like, are you moving the bed or whatever? Because I felt something. And then I went back to sleep again. And then I woke up and my legs were kind of in this position. They were up like this.
Yep.
And I thought I felt you touching my leg like this, like I'm not sure if you were just reaching or what, but then I went back to sleep again.
I remember the first time, but I was probably out when I touched your legs.
Okay.
When you accused me of moving, it was only about 5 minutes after we had said goodnight.
Yes, it was.
So you weren't really asleep then, were you?
I'm usually a very light sleeper. Any sudden movement, any sound, it wakes me up pretty quickly unless I'm very tired and I'm in a deep sleep and I can't feel anything.
Yes.
In this case, I did feel something.
We got up for maybe a half hour talking. You were more awake than I was.
I was.
And then I scratched your head. You said maybe we should go back to sleep. And that was cool with me. We re-woke up.
Re-woke up? Is that a word?
I don't know. It is now.
Woke up again.
Woke up again. Rewoke. It's like somebody who was a Republican. They started out as like a hippie, became a Trump supporter, and now they're back to like being super lefty. They're rewoke.
Oh, okay. That's That's not funny.
Sorry.
That's corny.
Not everything is going to work.
What would you call it? Ricklish? Rick English?
I don't know.
I don't know. Okay.
But we re-woke at around 6:59, I believe.
Right.
And have been up since.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And I ended up not going back to sleep like I thought I was going to.
Yes. Now, Miss A has some very interesting thoughts about teabagging that she is not willing to share with us. We were playing around with Miss A this morning.
You were.
In bed. No, you were too. You weren't doing it like I was.
I wasn't doing that like you were.
I was asking more of the dirty questions.
Yes,
and you were trying to keep it PG.
I was trying to keep it very PG. Because I did not believe that the dot was going to answer it like that.
I thought her answer to the teabag question was very funny.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was.
It made me laugh, babes.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. You have a very weird sense of humor, you know that?
But that's what makes me me.
It is. It does. It does. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just very weird.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And you made me some hot chocolate, which is really good, babes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to go make some yogurt, but I thought, well, I don't feel like going through all that because I was gonna put some fruit in mine, and flax seeds, and I was gonna put some flax seeds in yours, but I thought, maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure yet, but I like yogurt with some mixed fruit and berries and flaxseed. It's really good.
I don't think I'm gonna do it this week, but I think within the next few weeks I'm gonna make some yogurt and possibly bring it over here.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Well, you brought me a present yesterday. You brought over some Mexican rice, and which I'm very, very, very thankful for because I haven't. I like Mexican rice, and I haven't had it in forever. And I never had homemade Mexican rice that you made, but I'm excited to have it.
I think we talked about it yesterday, but yeah, I want to get your thoughts on it. I think it would go well over a salad or maybe some chicken. Or if you wanted Babe to make more tostadas this week, it would be a good base. So you could put a little bit of the rice on, then put some refried beans and build from there.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do that. I mean, I know how to make tostadas now, but I don't know if I'm going to do that.
If you want the full Rick experience,
yes.
What I might suggest, Jaylo, is you put it in the microwave and then you put it on a plate with some warm refried beans and some avocado and eat it that way. With maybe a horchata.
Horchata? Horchata actually tasted pretty good when I tried yours when we went to that Mexican place.
I love it.
It's pretty good.
Yes.
It's not bad at all. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but what I was thinking about doing is emptying some out in a bowl after that I've warmed it up. And taking, like if I have some leftover sour cream, take that, put that on top of it, and then put some leftover pico de gallo. You
know what you might want to do, babe? Instead of the sour cream,
yes,
use that dip from the chips we ate the other day.
Yes.
And mix that in with rice.
You think so?
That's a possibility. I would do that instead of sour cream. Put it to you this way. I like my initial suggestions better, but if you're going to do it with some sort of sour cream thing, I would go with the dip.
Okay. Because unfortunately, we don't have a lot of chips left.
No, we don't. You ate them all. I assisted.
I didn't eat them all. There's still some left. Unfortunately, not enough for the both of us.
Oh.
But that's okay.
Oh.
Well, I was thinking about what to do with the extra dip, and I love French onion dip, and I could just eat it with a spoon, but maybe that would be a good idea.
Yes, I'm sure some doctor is listening to this and be like, no, don't eat all that dip. But none of us is going to live forever.
Well, I figured, why not? I don't get the dip very often.
It is pretty good, babes.
It is so good. I think that would taste good, actually.
What you could do, babes.
Yes.
Is you could get some beans, which I believe you have some. And
really? I do?
I don't know about refried, but I think you have black beans, don't you?
Oh, you'll have to check my cabinet because I don't remember. There's so many cans in there, so I don't remember.
Yeah, but you could take some beans, some rice, and some of that dip and mix them all together in a bowl. Maybe add some cheese onto it.
That sounds like a good idea. I think what I might do is just cook them until they start to stick, and then do that.
Maybe add some Gruyere.
Gruyere. Are you taking that with you?
I was thinking about giving it to you
Really?
if you really think you're going to use it. If not, then I'll take it back.
I don't know if I will because I don't eat that cheese very much. I've thought about putting some feta cheese on there too.
That might work, babes.
Because I mean, even though feta cheese is usually used in Greek cooking, I think it would complement the shredded cheese, and we're gonna use that in the pasta tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to what happened last night.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I'm actually glad that Are you talking about dinner?
Yes.
I'm actually glad that I suggested it. Would you say that?
I agree with you. So here's what happened. We record a podcast and decide to take a nap, right?
I was the one who said, I think we were talking about napping, and I said, you know what? I'm really tired.
It was originally going to be for 45 minutes.
Yes.
I think it ended up being an hour and a half.
It was 45 minutes. I woke up, you woke up, and I was like, I'm still kind of tired. I think we ate something.
We ate the chips.
We came back. I said, what do you think? And I'm like, I'm still kind of tired. So I think I fell asleep. I think you did too, like around 3:30ish.
No, we went back to sleep. We got up again, and we watched some TV.
Yes, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yes, and a little bit of the Filnststones.
Yes.
Because we're very intelligent people. And very adult-like.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm like an adult.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Remember that time Trump was like, I'm like a smart person. Hey, no, he literally said that. He said that, babe.
When was this?
This was, I think he was giving a speech to some group of people. It was right after he became president, and he said, I'm like a smart person.
Did you listen to the whole thing?
I listened to that part of the speech.
No, you have to listen to the whole.
All right, babe, but I did hear him say that.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, we're not talking about that.
And we're like adults. Not... So we watched The Fresh Prince.
Ow.
That's okay, babes.
You gotta cut your nails.
Sorry, babe. So do you. We then viewed some Flintstones, and we're both getting tired.
Very tired.
And they're actually really good episodes.
Yes, they are.
Of the Flintstones.
The second one was really funny.
Oh my god, that was amazing. I wish I was awake through all that. Anyways, after that, it's like a little bit after 3:30, and we go to sleep, and we wake up, and it's like 5:01.
Something like that, yes.
Yes. We're like, we got to make dinner and watch these movies. And we go to the kitchen. Both of us are still out of it.
I look very tired, apparently.
Okay.
We start dancing to kind of get ourselves moving. I'm surprised you wanted to dance.
Yeah, because that's what I do at home, even.
I know.
To get myself up.
And I think it's really fun. And
I'm like, let's order a pizza, and you're like, maybe we should make some kale salad. And
because
like,
I didn't buy all this food just to not use it.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I thought, I'm thinking to myself, are you seriously asking me to order pizza? Because I'm not going to do it.
Well, I would have chipped in, babe.
No, I understand, but it wouldn't make any sense because I had the ingredients for a kale salad.
Yes.
I also said that if we have leftovers, I would give it to you, which we do have quite a bit.
I'm going to make some smoothies.
Yes. And, do you mind if I keep the mozzarella?
No, I don't mind, but we're going to use most of it tonight.
Yes, we are. Okay.
So I don't know if honestly, I don't think there's going to be any left, but.
Okay, that's fine.
If there is any left, you can keep it.
Well, if there isn't, then that doesn't matter to me. We'll use a lot of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to what I was going to say. So I decided, why don't we just make a quick salad because it's getting late. And all we don't have to worry about starting the oven or cooking anything on the stove, and we're pretty exhausted, so why don't we just make a quick salad? And then we both agreed, and we took our 2 minutes, which was really helpful, actually. Mm-hmm. And it went off really well.
Very good stuff, babe.
It was really good. It was super easy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the Flintstones for a minute, because we did bring it up, and I don't want it to be the elephant in the room.
Why would it be the elephant in the room?
I don't know. I think there are some things we can get from it. The first episode we watched, Fred wanted to go... we were both tired at the time.
Yeah.
He wanted to go on TV, so he tries to form this a cappella group, and he finds out that Barney can sing really well when he's in the bathtub.
and the only reason why he was doing it is to get a free trip to what was it? Some tropical place. I forgot what it was.
Yes.
With his and he's like, okay, I gotta form a barbershop quartet.
What does this episode tell us about ambition and stage fright?
Says a lot about stage fright, because remember when Barney was singing in front of the group because he was auditioning, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, "See, I told you, Fred. I told you, I can't sing unless I'm in the." And it also talks about using what you have, or trying to kind of use, and maybe Fred, and I like Fred Flintstone. I think Fred Flintstone's great, but I think if he were a real person, he certainly was using people to his advantage. And because Barney had a great voice, he was using him and the tub and the choir, the quartet to get this trip for himself.
Yeah, I mean, to me...
I think it's funny, though.
Yeah, to me, Fred Flintstone is Jackie Gleason, right? I think of the Flintstones a lot of ways as like the honeymooners of the Stone Age in animated form.
I am not familiar with Jackie Gleason's work.
Oh, we gotta watch the Honeymooners, babes.
Yeah, I know.
But basically, he's always trying to scam the system. He's a good guy, though.
Yeah.
He's not like an evil person, but he's always has these schemes to get ahead in life. And
right, he's a fast-talking person. I'm
pretty sure that Fred Flintstone is loosely based on that show, but I could be incorrect.
Okay.
I want to know, what does this teach us about ambition? Because Fred goes through a lot of stuff to get to the audition. At one point, the bathtub is like going all through bedrock.
They're literally carrying Barney on stage in the bathtub.
And yes, and at the end of the episode, Fred, his two buddies from work, and Barney are all in the bathtub together.
For the soap commercial, right?
Yes. What does this tell us about ambition?
He was willing to do whatever he could to get ahead, even if it meant using his best friend.
Does Fred take this trip, or is there conflict between the four members of the band?
I don't think he ends up taking a trip.
What do you think happens with it?
I think they make some. They get some royalties out of the soft soap commercial. By the way, there is such thing as soft soap.
Interesting.
As you probably know, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I've heard of it.
Yes. It was really funny, though.
Do you think that this leads to division between the various members of the group?
I don't think so.
Mm.
I think they kind of run with it.
But you don't think it's one of those things in 10 years where Barney says to Fred, listen, I didn't really want to be on TV. I did it for you. And it's a little weird that you and your two other buddies were in my bathtub while we were broadcasting to the world. You don't think that comes up in an argument?
No, of course not. They're animated.
No, but babes, you know how I am. I like to think about the psychology of a show.
Okay, but no, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think, I mean, even throughout the show, there was none of the guys have said, hey, Fred, are you trying to use us?
Right, but I'm wondering if it comes up later in their life, though.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they just kind of have a fun time with it and they just run with it.
Yes.
Yeah, it just didn't seem like the guys really cared. Like, they just wanted to do it for fun. I don't know.
Except for Fred, who wanted to get something out of it.
Except for Fred, who wanted to get something out of it.
What does Fred Flintstone teach us about the middle class and the desire to leave it? Well, first of all, I guess we should establish, is Fred middle class or is he like upper lower class? I see Fred as more lower middle class than upper lower class.
What is the difference? Explain that, please.
It's like a difference in like well, you know about the class system, right? There's lower class.
Yes, there's lower class. There's I didn't realize that there was an upper and a lower middle class.
Yeah, so like I would think of myself as I don't want to give too much away, but I consider myself upper lower class in the sense that you know, I have a place to live, I can cook, I have access to resources, and I would consider somebody who is homeless lower class, lower class.
Okay, yeah.
And I would consider like somebody who can rent a house.
Yeah.
Or own one would be like middle to upper middle class. And then you have executives who could be like lower upper class or, middle upper class.
Middle upper class?
Yeah, because there are different class systems within the class system.
I think you're right about that. I would think of myself as in the same class as you are, actually.
Upper lower class.
Right. I'm not quite lower, but I'm kind of upper. So I'm kind of in between that.
I think of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air as them as being middle upper class.
Of course, yeah. Because Philip Banks is the one that brings home the bacon.
Mm-hmm. And he brings home a lot of bacon.
A lot of bacon, apparently. And even they have a butler.
But where do you think Fred Flintstone falls in the class system?
I think he is lower middle class. Because, he's been working for Mr. Slate for a long time. And he doesn't seem like he's like the richest person because he has a car where he has to push he has to push the car with his feet. For crying out loud, right?
Yeah.
If you were like upper middle class, you wouldn't have to worry about that. You would be able to hire like if you were super rich, for example, like really really high up there, you would have enough money to hire a chauffeur, or you could buy a car that is better than the one that you push with your feet. I think he's lower middle class.
So, what does this episode teach us about Fred Flintstone's desire to maybe go up a few steps in life? I know that the trip is just a trip. It doesn't mean that he's going to get a better job, but it could represent something. Yeah, he can't get this trip any other way.
Yeah, because I've known in the past episodes that he wants to be rich, right? He wants to get rich quick. And he wants the quickest way to do that, it seems like. What was your question?
What does he teach us about desire and the class system?
I think he truly wants good things for himself and his family. And it's obvious that he loves his wife and his daughter. But I think it seems like he will do anything to try to achieve that goal. Especially with getting rich.
Does Pebbles...
Yes.
Well, how do I want to phrase this?
What about Pebbles? She's just a baby.
I know. I want to make sure I phrase this correctly.
All right.
How do you think the birth of Pebbles affects Fred's mindset? I know that doesn't happen in this episode, but by now she's alive and she's existing. And, before he just had Wilma and Dino, and now there's this new addition to the home.
Right. I think he really thinks about maybe what he can do to provide for his family, because, Wilma stays at home with the baby, right? I would imagine she's a housewife.
She is.
And while she's taking care of things at home, he's providing for his family and getting them food. So I would imagine that he's thinking not just about how he can get more money, but also how he can provide for his wife and daughter. I think his heart's in the right place.
I do too. Another question before we go on to the next episode, which also kind of deals with class and a bunch of other things.
Yes.
Do Fred and Wilma stay up at night worrying about what happens if Fred dies?
No.
Okay. Really?
Not in their world, anyway.
You don't think so?
No, I kind of like to keep it, I kind of like to keep it simple.
Interesting.
In their world. By the way, you haven't seen, like, the Flintstone spinoffs, like the Flintstone Comedy Hour?
I have not.
Or the Pebbles and Bam Bam show?
No.
That's when Pebbles and Bam Bam are teenagers, and it's kind of a fun...
I think I saw part of one episode when I was a kid.
And they have a band.
Okay.
It's a fun show.
Nice.
But then Pebbles is a teenager.
Interesting.
Yes. But anyway, I just don't think that they think about that. Maybe Wilma and Betty talk about it because they're best friends, right?
I think so.
I would imagine they're very good friends. But I think all in all, they trust that their husbands are going to do right by them
and survive.
Yeah.
in the Pebbles and Bam Bam show, Fred is still alive?
Yes, their parents, I believe, are still alive, but I think they focus more on the teenagers in the show. The Flintstones Comedy Hour, which I haven't seen in a long time, that's when, Pebbles and Bam Bam make friends and they're in high school, and Pebbles has a best friend named Penny. It's been a long time since I've seen those shows, but they're pretty fun.
Okay, I have a question that just came to mind, but I'm going to save it until we wrap up the last episode that we watched yesterday, which was really good, even though I was half asleep.
I was too.
Most of it.
I was too. Tired.
The basic premise is Betty wants to buy a rocking chair for Barney.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But she doesn't want to spend any of his money, so she takes a part-time job. In order to do so, she has to dress up as an old lady because that's what the ad wanted.
Yes.
It turns out that she's working for these con artists.
Yes.
Voiced by Wilma and
Alan, the lady who plays Wilma and the lady who plays, the man who plays Fred Flintstone.
He may have identified as a lady in his private life. I don't know, but
no, it's a man.
Yes,
it was really funny how they did that.
We find out that they're scamming money.
Yep.
Bunch of stuff goes on. Episode ends. Betty is safe, sound, and Barney has his rocking chair.
And she admits what happened.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's funny because she's trying to hide her disguise from Barney.
I'm curious, babes.
Yes.
We are led to believe as audience members that Barney is this fun, loose guy who likes having
very goofy.
Yeah, but his heart is in the right place.
Yes.
His wife is afraid to let him know that she got a job. Mm-hmm. Do you think that this speaks to the plight of housewives of that generation that this show was intended for?
Oh, that because with men wanting their wives to be at home?
Yeah, because I believe the show came out in the early 60s, which is kind of right when the sexual revolution, it hadn't really happened, but things were boiling.
I thought that was happening. That was happening towards the 70s, I think.
It was, but movements just don't happen in a vacuum, and so they take a little bit of time to gain steam. So it wasn't at the forefront of society, but it was kind of happening behind the scenes at this time.
Yes.
So what does this teach us about Barney?
I don't know that it does teach us about Barney. I mean, maybe in Betty's mind, she thought, well, I haven't had a job since I married Barney, or I haven't had a job at all. How is this going to look to my husband if he knows that I did this behind his back? I don't know that it has anything to do with Barney.
So you don't think that he's trying to oppress her then?
No, I don't. I don't believe, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, when she told him what was going on, he didn't boil over.
But how much of that is because he's around the Flintstones and he wants to portray the nice guy? We don't know if she got beat when she got home.
I just say, keep it simple, stupid. It's just a cartoon.
Oh.
Not that I called you. No, you're not stupid. But
oh my goodness.
It's just an acronym.
I know.
Yeah.
What does this episode then teach us about deception?
You can try to be as deceptive as you want to be, but eventually you're going to be found out. You can't hide deception for very long.
I know you read the Bible.
Yes.
Are there biblical lessons to be learned from this episode?
Yes. Well, there is a scripture that says, "Be sure your sin will find you out," and that is very true. Very, very true.
Do you think that Betty is going to have to answer for this in the afterlife?
Bubs, she's just a cartoon.
I know, babes, but again, this is how I examine pop culture, because I think it teaches us about how we live our real lives.
Well, I believe that if she doesn't ask for forgiveness along with repenting, she will have to answer for it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
How does that work, though? Does she ask her husband, or does she have to go to church?
I would imagine that she would have to ask her husband, and then she would have to pray that God would forgive her for that. Because when she asks God to forgive her, it was as if the sin was forgotten.
We're assuming that God does forgive her.
I believe he would if she were a real person.
Interesting.
If she was genuine about it, yes.
Mm.
You can't ask God for forgiveness if there is no genuine if there is no genuine desire to repent or anything like that. So,
I know that eventually they get custody of Bam Bam, who I believe is an alien.
Bam Bam they adopted him.
They adopted him, but I thought he fell
like an egg or something.
I thought he fell from the sky.
I would have to ask.
Okay, let's. It's not their biological kid.
No, I remember that they. He came down.
That happens later on in the series, but I'm wondering from you.
Yes.
Do you think that Barney and Betty Rubble are fit to raise children?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
I do. Well, I mean, in seeing the episodes with Bam Bam, it seems like they really do love their little boy, even if Bam Bam is like stronger than they are and can pick you up and slam you onto the ground, bam, 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 Yeah.
I'm wondering, Jaylo.
Yes.
Do you think that there's any part of Barney that is resentful of Bam Bam because he's not their biological son? Like, what? Do you think that they hold it over him and say, you're not really our son, we took you in when nobody else would? Or do you think that they just love him unconditionally?
I think they just do. I mean, they probably were, maybe they weren't able to have children initially and they wanted children, but now that they found Bam Bam, it doesn't matter, whether they have children or not, because now that they consider him their child.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Bam Bam was an alien. Yeah.
Yes.
Or some kind of dinosaur or whatever.
I think he was an alien.
Oh. Well, I'll have to ask later.
Yes. The question I thought of earlier that I want to ask now in reference to this episode, which deals with lying, age,
cheating,
classism a little bit. Not really cheating.
Maybe not cheating, but lying and age, yeah.
Yes. What do the final years of the Flintstones and the Rubbles look like to you?
I don't know.
Do you think that they remain friends when they're older?
Yes, I do. I think they do. I think they remain lifelong friends.
Do you think that Fred Flintstone ever moves out of his class position in life?
It's possible that he doesn't. Maybe he spends his entire life trying to move up in the world.
It never does.
And it never happens. Or maybe he does move up in the world and he actually gets what he's been wanting for a long time.
Do you believe that he can learn to be happy where he is?
It's possible, yes. Yes, I do. He seems like, for the most part, pretty happy. I mean, there are times where he gets upset, but he's got a house, he's got a car, albeit probably very old.
Right.
How does that work, though? Does he stick his feet out the window and push the
No,
car?
they're just, like, under the ground. So there's no, like, real bottom to the car.
Yeah.
At least it doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
And he puts his feet on the ground underneath where he sits and moves the car that way.
Like actually literally under the car.
Yeah, and the wheels help, obviously, but he has to get it started and do some stuff occasionally with his feet.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's very funny.
We know that Fred and Wilma love Pebbles.
Oh, yeah, they love her very much.
And we can assume that Barney and Betty feel the same way about Bam Bam.
Yes.
Do these kids, when they're older, see their parents? Do they write back to them? Or do they just go off and become successful and they never even send Fred a postcard?
Oh, of course they do it. By the way, when I was older, I saw a special. It was called Holly Rockabye Baby, and it was about Pebbles and Bam Bam getting married. So they were married for a while, and then Pebbles was expecting babies.
How do you feel about that?
I thought it was very cute. She had twins.
What do you think? How do I want to phrase this?
I don't know.
Okay, what do you think the effects are on those twins? Being that their father is possibly an alien.
I don't think they think about that. They're just babies.
No, but the parents have to consider this, right? Because they know that Bam Bam is super strong. And you typically don't mix alien and human DNA, so there could be heart conditions that could arise. And...
I don't think they think about it because they're just cartoons.
But we as the audience have to consider this.
Do we have to consider it?
I do.
Do you have to consider it?
Babe, it's the way I think about things.
It's a little strange, but very analytical. But that's okay. That's what makes you you.
Yes.
I don't think they think about it.
Okay, so the two kids have kids.
Yes, they're old. They're adults now, and they have kids.
I'm wondering, what is Pebbles like as a parent in relation to her parents? Meaning, does she take advice from her mom and from Betty, or does she kind of like zone them out when they call because they're more old school? Does she let the kids spend time around the grandparents, or does she think that, you know what, they're not as sophisticated as we are. We really want our kids just growing up around us and our friends and becoming cool people.
Well, being that, it's based on the time of cave Neanderthals, I would imagine that she would be more closer to her parents. I mean, thinking about when the Flintstones was based on, right? About caveman days. So I would imagine that she would for sure rely on her parents' advice.
Is Fred happy that he has grandkids, or is he sad that they never get pictures of the kids?
Why would they not get pictures of the kids?
I don't know. I mean, from your explanation, it sounds like they would. Yes. But maybe Pebbles is more close to Wilma than she is to her dad.
No, I think she's close to Fred.
Okay.
No, I think she was close to both of her parents. I don't think she... I've noticed that, with every generation, I think, even generations before us, kids handled, how kids related to their parents are so different, right? And thinking about, like, how... In the Philippines, for example, because this is the only example I can think of that I can relate to. Because the culture is so family-oriented, they would be more closer to their parents when they got married, as far as taking advice. But in our own society, right, in American society, we want to break away from it and rely on working with our spouses, if we have spouses, and not so much asking for too much help from their parents. It's very different. But back to your question, I think because the show was based on caveman days, I think they're more closer to their parents.
How does having children affect the band?
There is no band.
I thought you said that...
Well, they had a band. I believe they were in a band when they were teenagers. Either they were in a band or there was just a band there in their school. But I don't think they have a band when they grow up.
I've heard from people from my childhood that, knew various people, that it would kind of throw them off when they found out that I was going to be at an event, because I would just ask tons and tons and tons of questions that, like, normal kids would ask questions, but I take it a step further.
You would ask more questions.
Yes, and just like count these adults on these on things that they considered trivial.
So you're very inquisitive.
Yes. Does that surprise you to hear that?
What event are you talking about? What events are you talking about?
Well, like, I don't want to give out any names.
Don't give out any names.
Let me see if I could give this person. I haven't talked to this person in years, so I don't know if they felt this way. But
all right.
When I was 9, there was this guy named Tom Peterson who was in the news. He owned a lot of stores out in the Northwest.
A local guy.
Yes. He was very well known here locally. In fact, he even did a cameo in a Gus Van Sant movie called My Own Private Idaho.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. He has since passed on, but he was going through some bankruptcy issues at the time. And one of my dad's friends, again, I was 9, said, "Oh, yeah, I used to mow the lawn of Tom Peterson," thinking it was a funny thing. I asked him about Tom Peterson for, I think, 45 minutes straight.
Really?
No, he finally said, okay, that's enough Tom Peterson. I don't remember anything else about him.
That doesn't surprise me.
That doesn't surprise you.
No. When did you start? Here's a question.
Yes.
It sounds like you asked a lot of questions, which I think is very good. Maybe annoyed the heck out of your parents, and your relatives. But when did you really start to ask deep questions?
Deep questions? I don't know. Probably in my 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
I find it, well, I mean, I have to say it was very strange when we first went out. Because I'm like, why in the world would you ask that now?
Yes.
But I thought it was good because in some ways I thought it was good because you really wanted to know what I was thinking. And as uncomfortable as it was, I was uncomfortable, but I dealt with it. It wasn't like it didn't make me feel like I was just having small talk. You know, you actually wanted to know more about me than just what kind of outfits do you like to wear, or how do you like to wear your hair, or things like that. You know, when do you like to dress up, or what is the weather like in Hawaii, or something weird like that, you know?
Yeah.
Or what's your favorite food?
What is your favorite curse word? What's the sound or noise you appreciate the most?
No, I appreciated that they weren't like real surfacey questions.
Yes. I have another Pebbles question for you.
Oh, goodness.
I have not seen the later shows or the holiday baby movie you talked about.
Holly Rockabye Baby.
Holly Rockabye Baby.
I was trying to find that on YouTube, but I can't find it.
Well, if you do, we will analyze it to death, and I'll ask you a million questions.
Until I tell you, stop it already!
So you're like, it's just a cartoon.
Yes, it is.
These characters aren't real.
Yeah, they're not.
Okay. In the Holly Rockabye Baby movie...
Yes.
Pebbles finds out that she's preggers. She
writes her mother, I think she writes her parents a letter, and Wilma is very excited, and she goes, "My baby is having a baby."
What I'm curious about,
Babs, and I only watched it once, by the way.
Understood. To the best of your recollection, had the band actually stopped? Pebbles and Bam Bam bands? Or was it still going on, and then she finds out she's knocked up, and then the band ends?
No, there was no band in this special.
So by this point, they had grown up a little bit.
They did grow up. I forgot what they were doing in their life, but they got married at some point. Typical of sitcoms where you've got two children that hung out together as kids, and
very predictable.
Very predictable, right?
Yeah, I don't like that, but.
It's okay. I don't mind it so much, but it is predictable.
Yes.
And so they end up getting married, and I believe she wrote to her parents, and they were all excited about.
Okay, here's what I want to know. Okay. Typically, when you think about bands and artists, you think more liberal. And it just is that way. It's not 100% of the case, but as somebody who worked in the arts, it typically is more liberal people go into the arts. It just is. Mm-hmm. Some exceptions, but overall, more liberal. Okay. And I'm curious because when you think of family and you think of family values, usually you think more conservative.
Right.
I'm wondering, Pebbles and Bam Bam start to settle down and begin their family.
Yeah.
Do you think that there is any part of them that looks at their kids as resentment and looks at them like, yeah, we may have given up on the arts before we had you, but we did it so we could start a family. And you represent sort of what we left behind in our lives.
No, I don't.
You think that they got it out of the system?
I think that they said, well, we've been there, done that, and now it's time for us to grow up and have kids.
Do you think that they stay together?
I'd like to believe that they do. I would like to also believe that both their parents have stayed together for until one of them died. But that's me. I mean, I have a different way of thinking about that.
Yes.
I don't think that they resent their kids.
Okay. I was just curious about that.
Okay.
Yes. I think we've analyzed the Flintstones pretty
to death. To death.
Yeah. Well, don't even get me started on Tom Peterson.
Oh. You may be the death of me, Hammond.
Oh, it is.
But again, that's what makes you unique.
Yes. Let's talk about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. We almost made the mistake, or I did, of rewatching the dad episode.
And I watched it more than once, and it always, I never forgot that episode. That was like...
That's her most well-known episode.
That's a very emotional episode. I'm like, I've never cried during it, but I just don't want to watch it.
No. What we did do is we watched the second part of an episode we saw a couple weeks ago. The one where Ashley tries to get into the music industry, and it's basically done as a promotion for
her album,
Tatiana Ali's album that Will Smith helped produce.
Right.
In that way, this feels very dated.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, from your perspective, in a way, it's art imitating life, because Ashley Banks comes up with an album that everybody thinks is going to be this huge hit, and it doesn't sell. Tatiana Ali, a star of a TV show, with the other star of that show, release an album that I'm assuming her and Will thought was going to go through the roof.
Yes.
And it doesn't do anything.
Right.
What do you think? What do you think about that when art imitates life?
Well, okay, do you know for sure that nobody bought her album? Because
listen, I'm sure it sold more than one copy.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me, was it a worldwide sensation? No, because you don't know any of the songs that were on the album besides for what they played on the episodes.
It.
Exactly.
Well, and then she made another album a few years later.
But what I'm saying is, you didn't buy it, but you probably don't know anybody else who got it either.
That doesn't mean that, it didn't do successfully. I don't know.
You listened to the radio around that time. Was it played a lot? I listened to the radio. I never heard it.
Oh, you mean that one song? No.
Any of the songs from that album?
Well, the one song that I remember hearing is... I can't remember if it's called "Thinking of You" or something. It was one of her popular songs. I'm not familiar with her music, but I think she tried to get her foot in the door.
It didn't work though.
Yeah, but that's only one man's opinion.
Babes, the reason you know my opinion is true is because you didn't really hear her music on the radio or on MTV. Maybe they played it once or twice as sort of like, oh, this is Ashley Banks, album. But it wasn't. I'm talking about in real life.
In real life, yeah.
Yeah. They're not going to, they might say Tatiana Ali, who played Ashley Banks, put out an album with Will Smith, and they might give it one play on the radio or on MTV, but it wasn't in regular rotation.
No, they weren't playing it every day, but, I don't know. I think that there's speculation that it didn't.
Okay, let me ask you this.
What?
As you know, I am into artists' interviews, and I assume to a lesser extent you are too. Mm-hmm. And you know artists of that period of time a little bit better than I do in some respects.
Yeah.
How many musicians say that Tatiana Ali was a musical influence on them? Have you ever heard that?
That I cannot tell you because I never heard anything like that. But, I don't know. I think, I don't know. It's kind of like, how do I say this? I lost my thought. Sorry. I don't know how to word that. But no, I didn't hear anything like that.
Yeah, it wasn't a success. It was a failure. That doesn't mean that she's a bad person. It just means that...
So if you had the opportunity to interview her and you asked her that same question,
yes,
what do you think she would tell you?
Well, one, I wouldn't phrase it quite like I did here.
Yeah,
I'd be a little bit more, kind about it.
Well, I hope you would.
Yeah, part of me and you talking is I want to be a little bit more provocative too, because that's who I am. I like getting a rise out of people. But I wouldn't do that with her. I think that she would probably agree with me that it didn't exactly set the world on fire like she thought it would. I don't know that for sure, but that's my assumption. she was no Alicia Keys or
to that. Yeah, I'm just picking out her name here. She wasn't like, Alicia Keys or Queen Latifah or.
But let's keep it real. She wasn't even a one-hit wonder.
Well, there was one popular song like I mentioned that one. I don't know. I mean, I would consider that her only hit that I can think of.
Was it a hit, or did you hear it once on the radio?
No, I heard it several times.
Really?
I did.
Okay.
I did. In fact, I'll play it for you later on.
I would prefer not to damage my ears. No, I'm joking.
She's not a bad singer.
No, she's actually good on the show. Yeah. I don't know if they had somebody else redo her voice. I suspect that all those songs are from her real album, though.
Right. I don't know that she was singing it live, but I think that was her real voice.
Yes.
I have heard her sing before.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't think that someone is actually singing for her.
Well, that's good, babes.
Okay.
We saw another episode.
Yes.
That I gotta say, it's a little bit pushing the envelope on reality.
Oh boy, here we go again.
Do you want me to recap it, or would you like to?
Is it the one with Nikki and Dougie, right?
Yes.
Oh boy. I honestly think that this episode, I will say this. Would you agree that this episode should have been dealt with differently?
Absolutely.
I would agree with you on that, actually.
The basic premise is Will wants to spend time with little Nikki. He was like 3 months old last week, and now he's 6.
Go on with the story.
And he keeps trying to find these ways to spend time with him. They go and see this performer named Dougie. Dougie turns out to be a little bit of an asshole.
He's supposed to be Barney.
Right, but they couldn't get the rights.
Well,
keep going, babes.
Go on.
Okay. Will goes to see Dougie to get him to go out and perform for the kids. They get into a fight. The curtain falls. Nikki sees this and is upset with Will for a good part of the episode. Will is about to tell Nikki that Santa Claus isn't real, but Santa comes.
Dougie, no, he's saying that Dougie isn't real.
But he's also going to use that in conjunction with Santa Claus.
And he was going to talk to him about the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy.
Right. Santa comes to Will, or gets Will to come out to him because he uses this really attractive girl.
Right.
And basically says, oh, these are the hardest times kids have ever had. Not true. But
no,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're going to go with that for now.
Yeah.
And he says, you can't ruin this child's innocence. He's an innocent child.
Mm-hmm.
Flies away. Nikki sees the sleigh. And Will tells Nikki that he knows Santa Claus. That's basically where the episode ends.
I really think they should have...
Disgraceful.
I think they should have made it into a totally different episode.
Yes.
I don't think they should have even used Dougie. I think that maybe they should have... I think maybe they should have gone with the idea of what children are told when they're younger. The Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, and Santa Claus, 3 of which I was told as a young kid, and I really wish I'd been told the truth. And we've talked about this before in an earlier episode.
Mm-hmm.
It was way back. It might have been last year, actually, around Christmas time, if you remember.
It's possible, but keep going.
I really feel that it is a disservice to children when parents and relatives, even if they mean well, to tell them that these fictional characters are real. Because I can't tell you how confused I was when I got older, and I'm like, what? This isn't real? Why were people telling me this? And I was expecting money under my pillow when I lost a tooth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, just simple things like that. And I'm like, why couldn't they tell me that this isn't real, even though your friends think that they're real?
I completely agree, and I would add on to that, babe. Mm-hmm. So let's take Santa Claus for an example.
Oh, yes.
It's associated with the holiday of Christmas.
Yes.
Now, I believe Jesus Christ is from the Bible, correct?
Well, obviously.
Okay. And in the Bible, one of the sins is thou shalt not lie. Am I also correct?
Thou shalt not lie. Yes.
Okay, so they use a lie to promote a holiday about somebody from the Bible. And get this, when you find out it's a lie, you are encouraged to continue the lie whenever you're around little kids. So think about that for a second.
I wasn't so when I got older, when I got older, I never encouraged it around any of the kids in my family. If you're asking about me.
No, but typically, though, that's what you're expected to do as an adult. If you see a little kid, you're supposed to be like, oh, Santa's sleigh is coming by tonight.
Here's what happened with my family, if I can go into this a little bit.
Go ahead.
We found out that the reason why our parents did it was for tradition. I don't know that they were trying to be... they were trying to overtly lie. I think that they meant well, but I think that the reason why they did it is so that we wouldn't feel left out. I don't think that's what they should have done. Now, my sister and her family have decided that they're not going to tell their kids that Santa Claus is real. And I thought, that is a really good thing that they're doing, because what they're doing is they're explaining that this holiday should not be promoted using commercialism.
Right.
If they really wanted to celebrate it the way it should be celebrated, it should not be promoted with commercialism.
Yeah. Typically speaking, though, most Christians who live in America use a lie to promote a holiday to kids that comes from the Bible, which is a book that tells you not to lie.
I wouldn't say most, but I will tell you this, okay?
Go ahead.
I have a very good friend who will not be named. And we had this conversation years ago. And even though she is very much a devout Christian, I'd said, wouldn't it be better if you told your child, whenever you had your child, that this isn't real and this is why Christmas is celebrated? And her response to that was, well, I want my kids to have an imagination, even though she told me and explained to me that she wanted her kids in church on Sunday.
Yeah, and she's probably also going to teach her kids that lying is a sin while she's lying to them.
Well, which I don't agree. I mean, they use a lot of parents I noticed have used this excuse about imagination, which I think a child can very well have an imagination while still knowing the truth. Does that make any sense?
It completely makes sense.
Because, for example, I am a fan of the classic Christmas cartoons with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, because I used to watch that when I was a kid. But as an adult, I realized, hey, this isn't real. This is just a cartoon. This is just an escape. And I know what really is real. But this isn't real. And kids learning how to separate reality from fantasy, I think, is very important. And by telling kids, hey, I want you to go to church on Sunday, and however many times that the parents go to church during the week, but I also want you to keep that part of your imagination, I think is very detrimental to kids, because it's very confusing. Very much agree. It was very confusing to me as becoming, learning about this when I was close to being a teenager. I was wait a second. You didn't learn that Santa Claus is fake until you were a teenager? No. I was around maybe 10 years old or something. Oh, that's a little bit old, babe. Well, but keep going. I'm being honest. Okay, all right. Be honest. I'm not going to lie and say that I was like 3 years old when I figured that out. Because I wasn't. I was not 3 when I figured it out. Okay. I was starting to learn about that between the ages of 10 and 11. Around that time, I couldn't, right? But, you know what? I was told very, very differently from that time before. And I'm like, if I would have known sooner, I wouldn't have expected it. I would know the truth, and I would have celebrated Christmas differently. I wouldn't have thought that, Christmas is just about getting presents. And it isn't. There's a totally different reason. But Had I known that, I would have handled it differently and I wouldn't be confused.
I wouldn't say I was confused by my parents about Santa Claus, but I am confused about why people do that. It just seems like you're sinning to teach,
exactly,
promote non-sin.
And I've met a lot of Christian families that did not tell their kids that Santa was real, and I totally understand.
That's more realistic.
And that is more realistic. And they had to explain to their kids, look, just because your friends believe that Santa Claus is real, it doesn't mean it's true.
Yes.
And my friend was the only one that admitted to me that she would not tell her child until her child was older. And I think that's such a detriment to how they, I think it's just very confusing.
It's how the system brainwashes you to be a follower and not question things. It's one part of that.
And I don't think that's right.
No.
I don't think it's right at all. No. And I've had conversations with friends in high school about that. And he admitted to me, a friend of mine admitted to me that he would not tell his kids about the, if he had kids, about the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, whoever it is. And I think that's very wise. And I wish that was true with me. That's
not even my main problem with this episode, but I love covering that because it sets a contradictory opinion.
Yeah, but
I know super conservative people who teach their kids about Santa Claus.
Oh, it's so wrong.
Yes.
It's so wrong. And it's based on
a legend. Super liberal friends, too.
And it's based on a legend. You know, Thomas, I think his name is Thomas Nash. It's based on him. I have to look this guy up. So
I hope you're rotting in hell right now, Thomas Nash.
All right, that's enough. That's enough.
Hyperbole for me.
That's enough. Yeah, I think it's very wrong. It's very confusing. But getting back to Dougie, I want to say
go ahead.
That I wish that they would have taken the time to explain to little Nikki that you are going to find out about your heroes, and they may be your heroes, but when you find out the truth about them, you may not like it.
Everybody, I think, has some form of, you could call them heroes or people who you even admire as an adult, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as I get older, I'm realizing that you could have admiration for somebody, for something they do, without thinking that they're the best person on the planet.
Right. You can admire their work, but not worship.
You still think that they're a horrible human being.
Right. I mean, yeah, but I think a horrible human being, yes. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think that if they prepared him at his age and said, look, you are going to admire a lot of people in your life, and some of them may be true to their word, but some of them are not who you think they are. And I think they should have prepared him at the time because he was old enough to figure that out.
I would go a step further than that. I would say not even do the episode. Write a completely different script. This episode doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
I really think that they should have been way more honest with him.
I think that they should have done a completely different storyline.
I think so too. I don't think they should have had that Dougie character.
Here's my biggest problem with the episode, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because I hear what you're saying, but I think that doing that would be a little bit too preachy in a sitcom, and I don't like that either.
Mm.
My biggest issue is how Will feels that Nikki is giving him the cold shoulder. Like, Will seems genuinely hurt by it.
It does.
But he knows that this is just a little kid, and he's going to get over it.
Right.
You know, come on, he'd know that.
He's going to get over it, yeah.
And Will seems so sad about this.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think he wants to be a role model to Nikki, and he's the older cousin, and I know that Carlton also does too, but I think he just wants He wants Nikki to think of him as someone to look up to.
But he also knows that he's a little kid.
Yes, but in the Fresh Prince world, it doesn't happen that way.
There's a lot of lazy writing on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So there's some genius stuff too. But a lot of lazy writing. And I just can't get behind that.
Okay.
Yes.
As funny a show as it is.
Yes.
And it is really funny.
It's great.
It's a great show.
It's great, but it has some major flaws. And the character of Little Nicky is a big flaw in the show. It brings the quality of the show down. It can't be in my top 10 favorite sitcoms.
Okay. I wouldn't go that far, but okay.
But it's still a great show.
It is a great show. I mean, you don't think he should have been in there?
No, not at all.
Well, okay. That's interesting.
Yes. But that's just me.
I mean, I don't mind him being in there. I think that shows like that should have been handled much differently. A totally different storyline. I don't know. Yes. I would agree with you on the storyline, though. It was terrible. Yes. Really terrible. Yes.
Jaylo. Moving on.
Yeah, thank you for moving on.
This episode might be called Jaylo Sees Pecker.
Why does my name have to be in most of our episodes?
Well, we'll go with something else maybe. But
yes,
last night, Jaylo saw Pecker.
The movie.
Remember, folks, he's never even kissed a guy.
Oh my goodness, would you stop?
Do you want me to give a brief overview of this film?
Yes.
Okay. It's a John Waters classic from 1998. And when we start out, we meet the character of Pecker, who lives in Baltimore. I'm assuming it's a suburb.
Suburb of Baltimore. They're definitely not in the big city.
Yeah, even though they say Baltimore throughout the movie. That's my assumption.
Right.
And he is really, really interested in photography.
A lot.
He takes pictures while he's on the bus. He goes to work and takes pictures of the food with this old camera. He has this friend that is passionate about shoplifting.
That's Matt.
And Matt also likes to put groceries in other people's
bags that they didn't even get.
Yes, just to mess with their day.
They're terrible.
Pecker likes to chronicle him through photographs. He has this girlfriend who runs this laundromat.
Her name is Shelley, played by Christina Ricci.
The great Christina Ricci.
Yeah.
One of my heroes who I never want to meet.
You never want to meet, or you do want to meet her.
I would like to meet her. She's not a hero of mine.
No.
No.
She's not a hero of mine either, but I think her movies are great.
Yeah, she's made some awesome films.
Yeah.
And he has a bizarre family. A father who is a bartender and is obsessed with pubic hair.
He doesn't like it.
Yep. A mom who works at a thrift shop and likes to clothe the homeless.
Yes.
A grandma who has a Virgin Mary statue.
And claims that the statue talks to her.
And she also makes food for people on the side of the road.
Yeah, she makes these beef sandwiches, which actually sounds really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
An older sister who is an MC at this gay strip club.
Yeah. Very odd.
And little Chrissy.
That's his younger sister who just wants to eat a lot of chocolate and anything sugar she can find, and she likes to steal the food. Like she's a poster, like she's the poster child for eating disorders everywhere.
Yes, she's great. She's awesome. Peckers hangs his pictures up at his work.
Yep.
Okay. Somebody comes in. She's an art critic. I believe it's Parker Posey.
Her name is Rory.
Right, in the movie. Anyways, she decides that she can have a showing of Pecker's work in New York. Mm-hmm. The whole family goes, including his girlfriend.
And the grandma.
It's a great experience. I love the part of the movie. There's this big art critic who you believe is in the closet. And Pecker's older sister goes up to him and says, "Hey, Mary." That's what we call gay guys in our club. Marys.
Yeah, it's like the best club in Baltimore or whatever it is.
Right. There's a scene afterwards where they're all having this dinner, and Christina Ricci is thinking of what her customers must be doing right now.
In the laundromat, like how horrible they're treating her business, and people peeing in the dryers, and and she's like, and his mom is saying, "I'm sure it'll be okay."
The mom invites some homeless people to come in for the dinner.
Miss Betty being one of them.
Okay. I thought Miss Betty was somebody he knew in the town.
No, you told me that she was a homeless woman. There was one homeless woman that...
No, I told you that she was a homeless woman who was there for the Vogue shoot later on in the movie.
Yeah, and she kept asking people for their clothes.
Yeah. In an event. Yeah. Miss Betty isn't in this part of the movie.
Yeah, she's not.
But they eventually go back to Baltimore. Pecker's all over the news. People are thrilled, but it causes some interruptions in their life.
Yep.
Little Chrissy is put on Ritalin.
Yeah.
And kind of like zones out through the rest of the movie.
Yeah, she does after she has thrown a few tantrums about her cookies being gone. And
people are upset with Pecker because of the pictures.
Yep.
His best friend can't follow his passion of shoplifting anymore.
Yeah, because he was caught in the picture.
Yes.
And Shelley thinks that Rory is his new girlfriend.
Well, Shelley thinks there's something going on.
Well, there's something going on with Rory, and she basically doesn't want to talk to him anymore.
Shelley's pissed. Rory comes over, and they start making out. And Shelley is looking at this through the window. Pecker is about to engage in sex with Rory.
And Shelley takes a picture of it.
Yes, and Pecker sees that and immediately runs after her.
It's pretty much the end of that.
Mm-hmm. Pecker decides that he is going to do some shows in New York, but he's also going to open up an art gallery in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. Big success. People come. We should also say that his grandmama lost the ability to talk to the Virgin Mary.
Right.
So during the art gallery, they have the news there, and she's explaining how she wants Mary to come back to her. Mm-hmm. During the event, Mary starts talking to her. She tells Pecker this, and we listen to Mary speak, and
he's like, "Do you think that's a miracle?" And he says, "I think it is."
Yep. Everybody's having fun. It's a cool event. And that's basically... Go ahead.
I have to mention a funny scene.
Tell me.
Because Rory goes to the art showing at the opening at his gallery, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she introduces him to her new protege,
the blind guy.
The blind photographer.
That's great.
I feel portraits, or I'm sorry, I feel portraits. I smell landscapes, or
something like that. That was great.
Really very weird. And so now they're in competition with her company.
Yes. We give a very brief overview. I saw this film at, I want to say, the Coin Theater on a Monday night in the fall of 1998. I had smoked a little bit of marijuana before going to see this movie.
Of course.
I remember really liking it. In around 2002, I rented it from Blockbuster Video, watched it over again, and then I saw it in 2012, and I haven't watched it since then. So this is my fourth time viewing the film.
Wow.
It is a weird, quirky film that it's an acquired taste.
It is an acquired taste.
But that's the way it is with most John Waters movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah, and John Waters did have a cameo in it, which I won't give away.
He calls up the shop.
He calls up Shelley, yeah.
Yes. What did you think of this movie?
I did enjoy it, but it's very weird. I wouldn't count it as one of my favorite movies, and I don't know if I'd want to see it again, but it is funny. I enjoyed it.
Where would you rank it in the movies that I've shown you? Is it near the top, bottom, middle?
I think it's in the middle.
Okay.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay.
I mean, it's your opinion.
Yeah.
You could say it's the worst movie I've ever shown you.
It's in the middle. It's in the middle. I think the worst movie that we saw together was Fat City.
Yeah. I think that's sense. Without question.
It made no sense at all.
Well, it's either Fat City or August Rush, if we're going to be
I think Fat City was worse than August Rush.
They're both bad.
I mean, the art stuff in it was fun, but I think Fat City was worse because there was no storyline. I mean, you didn't even know where it was going.
That's true. And Lee Sagas Rush had good music.
It had good music. There was a storyline, but Fat City, there was like, what is going on here? This doesn't make any sense to me.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Getting back to this film, babes. What does Pecker teach us about fame?
That fame can be fleeting, and if your head gets too big, you could lose a lot of your. You could forget where you came from, and that could also cost you your family and your friends, and also your girlfriend or boyfriend.
What does he teach us about still doing the work?
I think that he was willing to work really hard to make himself known in the photography world, but he also didn't forget where he came from, and that's what I liked about this movie. It was very refreshing.
But it's more than that. He also continued. It's not like he got his first big check.
He continued to work hard.
He continued to want to take pictures.
Yeah.
He never lost the love for it.
Exactly. And I think that when some people get really famous, they may not have lost the love for their craft, but they have forgotten where they came from. I've noticed anyway.
What does little Chrissy teach us about consumption?
Too much of a good thing is not good. We need food for nourishment, but it can be abused. I think she's a poster child for future eating disorders.
This is going to sound like an odd statement.
Yes.
But I think I've got a lot of little Chrissy in me.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
I do.
Don't you think it's like that with a lot of men?
What do you mean?
They're like, they grow up to be professional eaters?
I don't think that's common, but it is interesting.
Really? You just want to take food as much as you want, right?
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah, but she's like at the other end of the extreme, though. She's very extreme.
And then she becomes drugged out.
But she's a spoiled brat, though. You're not spoiled.
Thank you.
I don't think you are.
But she also becomes addicted to Ritalin.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
It definitely says a lot about addiction. Like, you have a problem here, I'll give you a drug, and it'll zone you out for a bit. You're cranky here, I'll give you some sugar that'll help you. She was just a spoiled brat.
Yeah.
But she played it so well.
She was great in the movie.
She played it so well. I mean, even towards the end when she was just eating the veggies. Now she has a well-balanced diet. Oh my goodness.
I want to make
Poor
sure
girl.
that I phrase this next question right. So it provides a little bit of context. John Waters started making films in the early 70s. Mm-hmm. And even though there are more B movies, he's kind of a star. Like, I've been a John Waters fan since I was probably 8 years old. So he's been a household name in my life for a very, very, very long time. Mm-hmm. He's been on The Simpsons. He's done some stuff. This film not only talks about Pecker, but it also talks about the effect his art has had on the people around him. Mm. And I'm wondering if it focuses on this aspect a little bit because John Waters has seen what his fame has done to the people he loves. So,
okay.
In that sense, I want to ask you the question, what does this film teach us about being around somebody who's famous?
I always wondered that because, like, even if you were a friend of someone who's famous, I wonder how that works. I would imagine that, and I know I may be going off track here, but I would imagine that a person who's famous wonders, well, who can I trust? Or do they want to be around me because I'm famous, or do they want to be around me because they actually like me or love me? Have you ever thought about that?
I've thought about that too. And I think that again, I think one of the reasons John Waters focuses on this is because he's had those similar issues. Mm-hmm. And he's probably had late night conversations with family members who say, we're proud of you, but this is how your success has affected our lives.
I don't know. That's a hard... I don't know if I can answer that question, honestly.
That's fair.
Because it's... I mean, I wonder about that, but it's like, what's really going on with it? I don't know.
What are you getting over there, babes?
Oh, it's just the sheet.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm just kind of fixing stuff as I talk.
What does Rory teach us about the seduction of fame?
Well, I think she teaches us a lot, because when I knew there was something that could have been going on, because remember when she calls Pecker and she asks him, did you get my present? And I'm like, oh, I wonder what that is. And she was trying to buy him, so to speak. Would you agree?
There's that, but then there's also the big shack. There's her wanting to sleep with him,
right,
and almost succeeding.
You know what I think she's teaching him. It begs the question: what would you really do for fame? Would you go so far as to sleep with the art dealer to get ahead? Mm-hmm. It's like like thinking about the casting couch. How many stars have slept their way up to the top? How many stars would be willing to do that?
I hear you, babe.
Uh-huh.
What do Matt and Shelley teach us about holding on to the past?
You mean holding on to their past?
Holding on to the past.
The past?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Okay. Matt is passionate about being a shoplifter.
Yeah.
But he kind of has to re-examine that. He doesn't want to, though. He wants to live in the past where he could just steal stuff and cause chaos in the stores.
Yeah, steal stuff and cause chaos and try to make money off of it.
Right. So he's the old friend who doesn't want to give up the old ways. Shelley is glad that Pecker is successful. But until the scene in the election room where they... It seems like a very fun voting time.
The voter registration place.
She doesn't really understand Pecker's art, but she wants to hold on to him for the most part. Right. I mean, she's a little bit upset, but she wants to hold on to him.
But she's caught up in her own stuff.
Yeah, and sees a link to the past for him.
Yes.
What do they teach us about holding on to the past? Or about the past in general, both good and bad?
So with Matt... I don't know that it's good for him to hold on to the past, because he doesn't know any way of making a way for himself to better his own life. But the only thing that he knows is shoplifting and causing problems in grocery stores for people. Not a good way to make a living for yourself, I think. I don't think it served him well. Shelley, on the other hand, I think... once she was kind of understanding Pecker's art, she realizes, hey, wait a minute, I can do my job at the laundromat, but think of it in an artistic way. And also, and be able to understand my boyfriend's art. I don't know. She was willing to open up her mind, so to speak.
Was Shelley correct and still wanting to be a part of Pecker's life?
Yes.
Why?
I think so. Well, let me collect my thoughts, because I want to know what you think about this before I go on.
Okay. I'm up in the air about it. On one hand, I think for her, yes, because now she's going to be with a rich, successful guy who's also nice. Mm-hmm. For him, it's a little bit more questionable, because now he never gets to experience new love. His art is great, but now it's focused on the same set of people, right? And you need to grow. And that's not to say that you can't grow as the artist by focusing on your high school muse, but it's a little bit more difficult and becomes challenging throughout the years, right?
Do you think that do you think that Pecker is being held back by her?
Yes.
Oh.
I think in my ideal world, I would have liked Pecker to realize that he has to move to another small town because only people in the art world and Baltimore know who he is.
Right.
Most of the world isn't paying attention to photography.
Right.
He could have gone to Wichita and continued doing his art, right?
Right, or he could have gone to somewhere like a small town in California even.
Or Alaska.
Or Alaska, yeah.
I think that would have been the ideal ending for me.
Without Shelley.
Without Shelley, just by himself.
So, okay, so I think I do understand where you're coming from. I think you're right about that because all Shelley, and I wasn't even sure if Shelley really wanted to be with him in the relationship in the beginning of the show, in the beginning of the movie. Would you agree?
That makes sense to me.
I didn't understand it because she was so focused on her own business, and maybe it's possible that she is holding him back, and maybe he's holding her back from experiencing her own life. Because all she cares about is her laundromat, right? Which I think is kind of a sad existence. Would you say?
Yes.
If all you're obsessed with is stains and what people are doing when you're gone from the laundromat, it's pretty pathetic.
How can I relax when that lady has dingleberries?
and this one and her, she's got some major BO stains.
Yes.
I mean, if all you think about is, pressed laundry and getting stains out of laundry and, colors, and it's like, wow. All right. It's pretty sad.
Alana.
Yes.
Where are these characters today?
I think Tina's still stuck at her job. Maybe she's promoted. I don't know.
The older sister.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe she opens her own strip club. I don't know. I think she's very strange. I don't know that she moves forward with it, or if she decides to go to another profession. I kind of think that a lot of the characters are just kind of stuck where they are. They don't grow. I would hope that Pecker does grow. Maybe he does move out of Baltimore. But with him being with Shelley, I don't know that he does.
Do you think he eventually gives up his career, or he chooses Shelley? I know you don't know.
I don't know. Maybe he doesn't choose Shelley. Maybe he decides, you know what, I want to do something else with my career, and maybe he decides that it's not good for him to be with her because she has her own thing going on.
In my mind, I see him choosing his career, but just a little bit too late.
Oh.
I think he stays in Baltimore for a few more years, doesn't really make the art house thing work, or the art gallery thing happen completely. I mean, it's open, but it's not a success. And I think he starts to resent Shelley and his family. Maybe they have a kid or two. And maybe there's like a fight one night and he just leaves everything behind. Because he's been out of the scene so long, new people have risen to the top of the art world. So he has to reestablish himself. And it's not quite as easy as it was when he was 16. So he loses some years.
Wasn't he like at least 18 in that movie?
I think his character was 16.
Oh.
I think so.
I don't know.
But I think he has to start over at like 25 with a couple of kids, and he resents Shelley now. I could be wrong, though.
Or maybe he doesn't marry Shelley and he decides to work on his career and he gets married later. But he does it on his own terms.
And he also makes avant-garde films.
Yeah,
because he said he wanted to be a director.
Be a film director. Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe he decides that he takes his arts to the next level and he does something else with it.
Where is Matt today?
I think he's still stuck.
Is he still even alive?
Probably not.
Okay.
I mean, because of the way that he's going, and or maybe he's still alive, but he's just bumming off his parents. Maybe he's like one of those pajama boys that lives in his parents' basement until he's like 25. I just don't see... I just see his life as kind of stuck at a dead end until he decides to change things for himself.
Is little Chrissy a drug addict today?
Probably. Well, I mean, if you think about it, right? Her mom is very oblivious to what the real problem is. Would you agree?
Yes.
She kind of wants to medicate her, and she agrees. Her and her father agree that maybe Ritalin is good for her. I mean, maybe her I don't know how her father is and how he thinks about it, but it seems like her mother is like really oblivious, as well as her grandmother, because her grandmother is very Catholic, focused on the Virgin Mary statue. She's got her own issues.
As a Christian,
yes.
What did you think of the grandma talking to Mary?
Well, I have my own opinions about it. I thought it was very weird. I also thought it was kind of funny when the friends of Mary called her out on her stuff.
That was great.
Yeah, we saw your lips moving. She's not... It's funny. It's like Catholics calling her out on her own stuff. And she's supposed to be like a devout Catholic. That's pretty funny. But I have my own opinions on Catholicism, which I won't go into.
Oh. Alana.
Mm-hmm.
Would you recommend this movie to anyone?
I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't know. Just like I don't know if I would recommend Jojo Rabbit, because it's definitely an acquired taste. But
I think you would put Jojo Rabbit near the top of movies I've shown you.
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's weird. It's creative how they handled it, and it definitely had a good storyline, albeit very weird.
It's probably like top 3 movies I've shown you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or maybe, I don't even know how I could rank it. Because the problem with me trying to rank stuff is that there's so many things that I would consider my favorite.
Yeah.
And I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's at the top there.
I think the 2 best movies I've shown you, I've said this before, but are Shawshank Redemption and Jojo Rabbit is a close second.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my opinion.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, besides the Shrek movies that I showed you that you really enjoyed, was there anything at the top that you would say that I did besides that and the later Toy Story movies?
I really liked Ever After.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael.
That was a great movie.
I'm surprised I liked it as much as I did.
Yes, it's really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe we should move on to the movie you showed me last night, unless there's anything else you want to say about Pecker.
No, I think we talked about it to death already.
Oh.
We pecked it to death.
Oh.
We pecked at it to death.
And maybe I won't call this Jaylo sees Pecker.
Please don't.
Okay.
Please don't.
You can send the link to your mom.
No. No. There won't be any sending of anything. No.
Maybe you should give an overview. Well, first, I should say that I did not see the movie Casper when it came out in 1995. I know it was a big hit movie.
Yes.
But I did see there is a sequel where Casper comes back and he's a party promoter and he's also like an MC and DJ. And it's called Casper the Friendly Host. And I did watch that. No,
that's not true. Although that would be kind of funny.
Thank you.
How old is Casper the party promoter?
He's like 25. It came out in the mid-2000s. Casper the Friendly Host.
No, it isn't. Although that would be kind of funny.
Thank you. But why don't you give an overview of this film?
So I enjoy this movie. It's a fun movie. It's not like the greatest movie ever, but it really is fun. This stars Christina Ricci, Bill Pullman, Eric Idle, and Kathy Moriarty. Kathy. He has a weird voice.
Yes.
Eric Idle being a part of the Monty Python fame. If anyone didn't know that, now you do. So it starts off with these 2 boys that are going to take a picture of this place called Whipstaff Manor, which is located in the city of Friendship, Maine. I guess it's a town or city, I'm not sure. It's an old condemned house. It looks very creepy, would you say?
Yes.
From the outside. It's this big mansion. It's been there for a while. Supposedly condemned. And they know it as like the haunted house of the city. So they go in there and take it. Sorry.
It wouldn't be a podcast without that.
No, that was an accident.
No, go ahead.
So they go in there to take a picture because they noticed that they've found out that there's some suspicious activity and they wanted proof that they were there so they could show their family and friends. They start to take the picture, but Casper comes out. I don't know how much you see of him, but you probably don't see him. He's like, hold on, I'll take the picture. And so he says, say cheese, and they freak out and they run outside of the house. And it's a kind of a funny scene. Chime in, please.
Fast forward a little bit. This old dude dies. He leaves a lot of money to charity. He was super rich.
That's Kerrigan Crittensen's father. And
Crittensen is played by Kathy Moriarty.
Yep.
Her attorney is Eric Idle. She's like, I spent...
Actually, that's Ben Stein.
No, her attorney is Eric Idle. Ben Stein is the dad's attorney.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. He is the attorney in the scene, yes.
Bueller.
Yeah.
Fry. That guy. Ben Stein, even though he worked for Nixon, is a good actor.
Okay, go on.
Yes. People need to know that their president is not a crook. Well, I'm not a crook. That's what Nixon said.
Yes, I know. Go on.
Anyways. And Kathy Moriarty basically says, I spent 2 whole days with that old guy, holding his hand just so I could get some of his money. What did I get in this will?
Yeah.
Stein looks and he says, you got this old house. It's been condemned.
It's been condemned, but...
There might be a treasure in there.
There might be a treasure in there. It's like, oh, that's perfect.
Moriarty goes to the house.
It's a dump. She thinks it's a dump.
And then she sees the ghost and kind of freaks out. She gets this priest to go in the house to try to perform an exorcism.
It's pretty funny.
Out.
Yeah.
Then this scene I'm so glad Alana didn't tell me about it before I saw the movie. You see the doors of the house and Dan Aykroyd walks out in the Ghostbusters costume and says, who are you going to call? Someone else. I thought that was great.
I forgot about that scene and I thought, oh, that is funny.
I'm so glad you didn't tell me about it. It was great. She tries to tear down the house, but the ghost is still there. And one night, Casper is watching Hard Copy.
Yep. Mr. Rogers in Hard Copy.
Yes. And he sees a story about Bill Pullman, who is a psychologist who started working with ghosts after his wife died.
Yep.
Casper gets the hots when he sees Christina Ricci, his daughter.
Yep.
He goes to Kathy Moriarty's hotel room, turns on TV. She sees the story, hires Bill Pullman. Jaylo, pick it up.
She calls the operator and is hiring Bill Pullman to get the ghosts out of Whipstaff Manor because he is a James Harvey psychologist to ghosts to try to get them to find out what their unfinished business is and then leave. So it's implied that she gets him on from Santa Fe, and they drive off in their car. Bill Pullman, James Harvey, and his daughter Kat Harvey, and they drive all the way to Whipstaff Manor in Friendship, Maine. Meet with Kerrigan and Dibbs, who's played by Eric Idle. That's it happens to be her assistant and boyfriend.
And attorney.
Which is very strange.
Are they boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yes, they are.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
He's the attorney in that scene. It isn't apparent if he's an attorney for the rest of the movie. But they are together.
Okay, I did not pick up on that, but this is why we keep you around, babe. Keep going.
Okay. So, she basically says, we understand that you can get ghosts to find out what their unfinished business is so that they can cross over. And she's like, so what do you have to do? Do you have to spray? And they're like, well, this takes a while. This could take days or weeks or, months or even years. And she's like, no. It's like, days, I can handle that. Weeks, maybe. Months, no. Years, forget it. And so she wants this to happen so she could find out what the treasure is. And she says, I will be watching you. And, and she's keeping an eye on James Harvey to see what he can do. They end up moving into the house. Kat does.
With her dad.
It's quite a night because she runs into Casper, then runs into his three uncles. Both of them do.
Actually, to correct you, babe.
What?
I believe Christina Ricci and Bill Pullman don't meet the three uncles until the following morning when Casper's making breakfast. No, that's not true. That's not true?
No, because remember, she freaks out because she sees Casper.
Yeah.
He sees Casper too. He puts her in the closet, locks her in there, and then he runs into the three
you're right.
uncles,
I'm sorry. You're
correct. And then they end up fighting.
Yeah, and then he uses a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, remember,
which is great.
Remember when you see like a Clint Eastwood, you see Rodney Dangerfield, and I think the ghosts are turning into them.
Yeah, that's great. That's a fun scene too.
And then they're fighting with swords and whatever, and then he ends up getting the vacuum cleaner and sucking them up in the vacuum cleaner for the night.
And then there's a great scene right after where Christina Ricci is walking around the house with a vacuum cleaner, one of those handheld ones. You're correct. I got that wrong.
Right.
Yes. Keep going.
Yeah. And so she ends up with running into Casper. He grabs her a chair. She sits down. They're talking for a bit. He makes her breakfast in his magic way. I thought it was a pretty cool scene. And they end up to where he offers her his hand. Their hands pass through each other, and they're like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Right. Mr. Harvey comes downstairs. He offers him a newspaper, offers him breakfast. The uncles finally come out, and they're really rude to Casper. And so all that happens. Kat goes to her new school. While she's gone, the Mr. Harvey works with the ghost, and I'm not going to get into that because there's some stuff that happens. She goes to the new school. This one girl, Amber, makes fun of her because they already know that her father is a ghost psychologist, and they think that she's very strange. Well, she does.
Amber thinks that Kat is strange.
And while Kat is in class, she runs into, before she goes to class, she runs into Vic, who's this handsome guy, and Vic is colluding with Amber. She doesn't realize it. They go to class. Casper ends up sneaking in the class and writes some things on the board. And they decide to have the Halloween dance at her place because it's a scary place. It looks creepy, but there's a lot of room. And then before they leave, Casper ties all their shoes together because they're making fun of Kat. He ties all their shoes together, and they end up falling on the way out. Go on, please.
All right, so a lot of stuff is happening with the ghosts, and actually, maybe you can continue, babes. You're doing a really good job of this.
Okay. Vic goes to Kat's house and asks her to the Halloween dance. Amber then is waiting for him, and she is devising a plan to make it sound like Vic wants to go to the dance with her, but Vic is very, very upset that he even has to think about, hurting somebody else. And he's like, I really don't want to do this. But he's going along with it because Amber's bossy and whatever. And I guess Amber's supposed to be his girlfriend in the movie.
Yes.
Anyway, so Casper is really upset, and he wants to show Kat that he could have just as much fun as a human boy could. He wants to go to the dance with her so badly. So what happens is he picks her up and takes her to this, what would you call it, a beach?
Yes.
So they're looking at the sea, and it's a beautiful scene. And he is doing this to impress her, and he says, I come up here every night, and, and she's asking him questions about I think this was either before, but she asks him questions about his life before he died, and things of that sort. They end up in her room on the bed. I'm not sure how. I guess somewhere in between that he takes her down to the room, and she's asking him questions like, "What's it like to die?" And he's saying, it's like being born, only it's backwards. And he says, I remember I didn't go where I was supposed to go. I just stayed behind so that my father wouldn't be lonely. So it's evident that Casper likes her, but she doesn't figure that out. And she plans her Halloween dance and tries to figure out what to do for a costume. She sneaks into some areas and tries to figure out, how to get Casper to remember his childhood, and finds all his trains, and she goes to the room and summons Casper in there, and there's all these toys, and then Casper gives her his mother's dress to try, and she says, "You think I could wear it to the dance?" And then Casper realizes what happened on the day that he died, because he went out sledding, and it was implied that he got cold and sick.
And then passed
away. And his father was really, really sad about that.
While this is going on, Bill Pullman goes to hang out with Casper's uncles.
Yep.
Yes.
And they notice that he isn't talking, and I don't know what he's thinking. And they're like, "Hey, wait a minute, you're losing your fire." And then he says, "Are you and then they decide to take him to happy hour at this bar.
He starts singing karaoke, gets really drunk. They are thinking about killing him at one point, but they decide not to. We should also say that earlier in the film, they told him that they would contact his wife who died.
Amelia, right.
If he would get Kathy Moriarty off their back.
Yeah.
They play a prank on him, but it's nothing serious. But
it's pretty funny.
The deal comes up later in the movie.
Yeah.
Bill Pullman falls out of the bar and dies.
Yes. Meanwhile, while this is happening, Casper takes her to his father's shop, I guess.
He was an inventor. It was like his laboratory.
Right. He takes her to his laboratory. Very, 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 very messy. He puts her in this chair. What do you think about that scene, though? He puts her in this chair. The chair goes down this, winding slope. I think it goes down the stairs, actually, right?
I wasn't quite sure what to think about it at first, but once I realized what was going on, when he explained it, I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, so the stairs become like this really crazy slide. Mm-hmm. So it's like she's going on a roller coaster. And when it was described to me, I'm like, ooh, I wonder how that was seen.
Yeah.
Probably would freak me out. And then, so she's going down this thing, and then there's these combs coming out at her. There's shaving cream and toothpaste, and, she's getting her teeth brushed and her hair combed. And they get down to where it is, and then he comes back, and she's like, what was that? He's like, the up and down machine. My dad was a great inventor, but he had a hard time getting up in the morning. Kerrigan and Dibbs go through the same machine. And they're like, they're kind of freaking out. It's a really funny scene. So they find this machine called the Lazarus because there is this elixir that's supposed to bring people to life. Back to life. Yeah. That's what I mean. Bringing people back to life. Go on, please.
Casper explains that he's not quite sure how to work it, but the person who goes into the Lazarus also has to take this drink. Elixir, and there's only enough for one person.
Yep.
Kathy Moriarty hears this, and she thinks to herself, well, that's great. Somebody could die, come as a ghost, look for the treasure, find out what it is, then go to the Lazarus and come back to life and take the treasure. So naturally, she's going to kill her buddy Tibbs. Dibs.
Very close, though.
Yes. She tries running over Dibs with the car. She gets killed in the process and is the one who comes back from the dead.
Yep.
She goes into the area where the Lazarus is. There's a commotion. Christina Ricci gets her to admit that she has nothing, no unfinished business. No unfinished business. And this is after Dibs kind of screws her over.
He breaks up with her.
Yep.
Pretty much, because he's about tired of this. He's tired of playing this charade.
She pushes him out the window. It's implied he dies. And Kathy Moriarty goes on to where she's supposed to.
Yeah, she's like, no, I don't want to cross over. I have no unfinished business.
Yep.
So she crosses over. And Casper decides, I'm sorry. I have to go back because she sees her dad as a ghost.
Yes.
The ghosts come back. She sees that her dad has died. Her dad does not remember her.
And by now the kids are already there for the party.
Yes, the kids are there for the party, and they're waiting in the place where they're having the party. She sees her dad as a ghost. She gets very upset. She links his pinky with his, and then he remembers that
her pinky with his.
Yeah, she links her. That's what I said.
You said his pinky with his.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm talking too fast.
No, that happens to me a lot. When I listen back to this, I'm like, did I really just say that? But keep going.
Okay. She links her pinky with his, and then he remembers, and she starts to cry because he finally remembers that he has a daughter. And then Casper says, come on, Dr. Harvey, you need this more than I do, and gives him the elixir. And he drinks it, comes back to life, and he says, oh, I feel like I had the strangest dream. And then he looks at her and says, your party's starting without you. Your date's probably waiting. So they leave for the party. Casper's sitting there. He looks very lonely, looking at his toys. Who should appear to him but
Christina Ricci's mom.
Amelia's ghost, who is played by Amy Brenneman. And she says that was a very noble thing you did, Casper. I'm sure that Kat will never forget it. I'm sure that your father is very proud of you. And she says, and just because of what you've done, I decided to grant you your wish. But it's only for tonight, and it's only until 10 o'clock.
It's your Cinderella wish, even though she got to party till midnight.
Something like that.
Yes.
I think it was 10, right?
It was 10, but he is upset because Casper's like, well, Cinderella got to do this till midnight. And she's like, yeah.
Cinderella wasn't 12 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was somewhat of a Cinderella thing.
So he gets turned into human. We get promotion for the movie Now and Then.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do. Because he goes to dance with her. It's one of the kids from Now and Then. Christina Ricci was also in that movie, which came out the same year. And the song that they dance to starts off with the lyrics "Now and Then."
Every now and then.
Every now and then. Which
I don't know if it's I don't think it's.
I think it honestly, babes. I really do think, and I know I have a weird way of looking at things, that it was a subtle way to sneak in a promotion for that movie.
Oh goodness.
But that's just my theory, though.
Yes, I know.
But keep going.
Anyway, the kids are looking in awe. They're dancing, and then towards the end of the song, they end up floating for just a little bit.
Christina Ricci and the Now and Then kid.
The human Casper.
Yes.
And I think they did it just because maybe they wanted to make it more magical than it was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So they're dancing. The kids are looking, like, whoa, what just happened? So, Amelia appears to James. He can't believe it. And she basically says, both you and Kat love me so well that I have no unfinished business. Please don't make me be yours. And she says, but Amelia, I don't know what I'm doing. And she's like, well, what father does? And she explains, to keep things in mind about raising her as a teenager. And then you hear the clock strike 10, almost.
Casper turns back into a ghost.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
She starts to leave, and he says, "Where are you going?" And she says, "Where I could watch over both of you before we're together again." And she says goodbye to James.
Yes.
Casper is starting to turn back into a ghost, but before that, they kiss.
Yes.
The kids are in awe. He turns into a ghost.
Before he becomes a host. He looks at the kids and he just goes, boo.
And then they freak out, and then they all like run in unison outside of the hall that they're at.
Yes.
Outside of the house.
Yes.
Go on, please.
The ghost uncles come out and they start playing instruments. Christina Ricci, Bill Pullman, and Casper, who is now a ghost again,
are dancing.
All start dancing, and that's the end of the movie.
Yes.
This was a very interesting film, much better than I expected it to be.
I was glad that you enjoyed it.
I had a few issues with it, but overall I thought it was really, really good.
Good.
Like, the ending was a little bit like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, but, what do you expect about ghosts?
I really liked that they didn't cop out and say, okay, well, we said 10, but we've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
And God's cool with it, so we're just going to make you a little boy again, and you can live your life here with Christina Ricci. Because that's what I thought was going to happen.
No, and you asked me that question.
Yeah.
Right.
That would have been way worse than this ending. This ending was just a little bit confusing. Like, oh, that's weird. Okay. We had no clue that his uncles could play music, and now everybody's just kind of dancing around.
Yeah, and little Richard was singing the voiceover for the song.
Yes.
Yeah. And I thought it would be a fun ending.
Oh, wait, hold on. I'm going to sit up, change my position. Because I was laying on my arm.
Well, you can't do that.
For like an hour.
Well, you can't.
Alana.
Yes?
What happens now between Christina Ricci and Casper?
I honestly think they go back to being friends and roommates. Because obviously she can't have him. She's a ghost. He's a ghost, I mean. Wow, I said some weird things in this podcast.
That's okay.
Because obviously she can't have him. He's a ghost. I think they live there for a little while longer. Probably the longest that they have lived any place else. And
eventually they move and she leaves him behind? Or can he go with her outside of the house? Because he does go with her to school, but it's unclear to me. Can he visit someplace outside of the house for a temporary amount of time and then have to return to it? Or does he just return to it because of what he knows?
I would imagine that he can, because if you remember in the beginning of the show when it was starting, Casper turns into this orb, right?
Yeah.
And he kind of flies out, around the city. Remember?
Well, we know that he leaves it, but we don't know if he can only leave for a couple hours. Or if he's just connected to that house because that's where he grew up, so it's all he knows.
I don't know. I would imagine that he's able to do that. Because he's a ghost.
A question I have for you, babe.
Yeah.
I believe me, I don't want to think about this.
Okay.
But eventually, Christina Ricci dies. In real life. She's going to die one day. Hopefully, I hope Christina Ricci dies in her sleep at age 120 after living a great life.
120, okay.
Yes. But eventually she will die. And she played Cat, so we're going to go with that.
Right.
So eventually Cat will die too. We're assuming that Cat will have no unfinished business and therefore will move on to heaven or wherever she's meant to go. Mm-hmm. What does Casper do then?
Well, I don't know. I think he has to move on too.
Do you think then that his unfinished business is looking after Christina Ricci throughout her lifetime?
Maybe it is. And keeping his father's memory alive or something like that. I don't know. I'm not too sure about that.
I want to know, can Cat get married one day, or is she always going to think, yeah, we're just friends and I can't be with him, but I really want a life with Casper? Does she devote herself to him, even though there's nothing sexual going on?
I don't know that she can. I mean, I'd like to think that she could, but realistically, no. I don't think it could happen. And unless he actually is able to turn into a real man.
I'm assuming then that she has to find a man who's cool with Casper. Or, here's another possibility. Cat eventually grows tired of Casper and just leaves him behind forever.
That's a very sad possibility, but it probably may be the thing that she does and says, you know, I've this is a part of my life that I have to leave because I need to grow up. But suppose she doesn't grow up, and we keep her at 12 for forever, right?
Okay.
Maybe she is friends with Casper until she dies. But maybe what happens is she gets married, but Casper only appears to her, not her husband. In
a way, that's kind of cruel.
You think so?
Because that's a part of her life she can never share with her spouse.
I don't know. I mean, it's a possibility, but it may not happen that way.
I want to know what happens to Bill Pullman after this movie, his character.
I think maybe he starts to learn how to go on with his life because he spoke to, he had a conversation with Amelia, and Amelia gave him permission to go on because she doesn't have unfinished business, so he has to go on. Maybe he gets married, maybe he doesn't. I don't know.
Last question, because I know it seems like you're getting tired. You're moving around a little bit. And you're going to need a kiss soon. And we've been doing this now for like 2 hours.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, I'm not quite tired. I'm just kind of resting here.
How does the experience seeing Casper affect the other kids at the party?
I think that they're just so... they just couldn't believe what they saw. That maybe they never talk about it again, or maybe that's the first thing they talk about on Monday. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so maybe they want to keep it hidden because it was just too overpowerful for them.
Yeah, like, whoa, I can't believe this happened. This is like the coolest party ever. Or, whoa, I can't believe this happened. I'll never go to that house again.
Okay. Kat, we believe, stays in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Does she return to that school?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe, here's another idea, Bubs. Maybe because they went through a weird experience at the Halloween dance, she is made to be the cool girl in school now.
That's possible.
Because she's got the cool house on the inside. They saw a ghost. The ghost wasn't scary.
No.
You know? So maybe she becomes the popular girl in school. Because of her house.
Yes.
Why wouldn't she?
I don't know.
You know?
Yes. Alana.
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to say about this movie?
I would definitely recommend it. I do give it a 7.
Yeah, it definitely has a few flaws in it.
But they're minor compared to flaws in other movies.
One of the things I found hard to understand is, again,
Oh, sorry.
You keep hitting the thing.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's what you do.
Nah.
I am a blind guy, but it did look after the Dan Aykroyd scene like Kathy Moriarty was having the house demolished. And then Bill Pullman comes out there and the house is completely fine. I could have gotten that wrong. That was a big flaw for me.
I have to go through it again because I have a version of it in descriptive, in audio description. And maybe the person recording it would explain why that's there. Maybe. I don't know.
So there are a few things here and there, and I felt that it was a little bit predictable that Casper would let Bill Pullman come back to life. And I did have some issues with the ending. But overall, I really like this movie.
You had issues with the ending about them dancing? Or
yes.
That's just a weird ending?
I thought, well, that's kind of weird. They never addressed the fact that he's never going to be a real boy again.
Yeah,
and his uncles just suddenly play instruments and they just break out into dance.
Yeah, but it's fun because, you know, the uncles, you don't know what to think about them if they're good or bad.
I like that.
Yeah.
But I was a little bit put off by the ending. Overall, though, it was really good. There's a lot of funny stuff in here, and there's a lot of heart, too.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah.
Yes.
Did you like a lot of the special effects?
I did.
What would you say one of your favorite special effects scenes were?
It's gonna sound stupid and obvious, but it's when the ghost is morphing into Clint Eastwood and Rodney Dangerfield.
Did you like the breakfast scenes where Casper is donning a chef's hat and he's making the breakfast and then pouring orange juice from his I think it was like a cup or something, or
yeah, that was good. The one thing that happens when you talk about special effects in an older movie, it's difficult because they become better and better each year. So even though the special effects in this movie were really good at the time, I don't necessarily know how special they are now.
Okay.
Yes. But overall, I enjoyed it, babes.
Oh,
it was a
good.
good pick by you.
I'm glad.
And tonight we're going to be watching 2 more films.
Yeah, I'm not sure how, like I said before, I don't know how you're going to feel about the Virgin Suicides. Of course, it's not my favorite movie. It is kind of heavy, but there's some funny things in there too, and there's some interesting stuff.
I'm also not sure how you were going to feel about Romancing the Stone. And I told you the mistake I made yesterday.
Say that again. What was the mistake? My
fault. I think we should have watched Romancing the Stone and Pecker back to back so that we could have done a podcast episode called Romancing the Pecker.
No.
I take full responsibility, babes.
I'm glad we didn't do that because I really don't want an episode named that. It's just weird.
Okay.
No.
You don't want your name associated with Romancing the Pecker?
Not at all.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to say about Casper?
I would say it's a fun movie. It's something fun to watch like around Halloween because it isn't scary, but it's there's some cool special effects and there's some funny things in there, and I would think you would generally enjoy it.
I would agree. This is a film that works really good for kids. I would
yes,
imagine.
It is.
Maybe not really little kids, but I'd say 8 up.
8 to about 15.
Yeah, that's the right range.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. I mean, I just remember enjoying it when I watched it the first time and other times.
Nice.
Yeah, it belongs in the same category as E.T. and the Goonies.
I haven't seen the Goonies, but I'll take your word.
No, the Goonies, I got to show you that. That is a classic 80s movie. I think you'd enjoy it. And it's it was obviously you already know that it was filmed in a part of Oregon.
Astoria, yes.
Astoria, yes. Yeah.
Very good, Jaylo.
Fun movie.
Yes. Alana.
Yes.
Did you have any dreams last night?
I did not. Did you?
No. That was a very quick discussion about that.
I was done.
Is there anything else you want to talk about, or do you feel like we did good?
No, we did very good.
Yes. I would like to have my first kiss now.
You've had many kisses before me. Many kisses that I don't even want to know about, actually.
Right. But, we're thinking about if your parents are listening. I've never kissed anybody, and I would like to do that now for the first time.
Oh, goodness.
All right. So that is what a real kiss is like. How does it feel kissing somebody who's never kissed anybody before?
Bubs, come on.
Okay.
Be real.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay.
This is not your first rodeo.
Very true.
No.
All right, Jaylo, is there anything else you want to say?
No, but after this, I think I'm gonna get us a snack.
Oh, good. And then did you want to study the good book?
Yeah, we can do something like that. It'll probably be it may be a shorter podcast.
Or we could do that next weekend if you want.
Yeah, actually, why don't we do that next weekend?
Yeah, next weekend.
That'd be good.
We'll study the good book.
Why are you talking like that?
I don't know. Because when I think of the Bible, and I know it's wrong, I think of the South. And Confederate flags. And
yeah, that is
glory
wrong.
And all that stuff. But maybe you should give me a kiss, too.
What?
Yeah, because what's that for? I kiss me, okay?
All right. Okay, enough.
All right, let's go get some snacks.
Yes.
Move on with the rest of the day, and next weekend we will do Bible stuff.
Yes, we will sometime.
And I'll learn about
Okay, stop. Would you please?
Various things. All right.
Would you please knock off the phony Southern accent? It really doesn't become you.
All right, babes. All right.
I love you, though.
I love you too, babes.
Okay.
All right.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye for now.
Until next time.
Bye-bye.